Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 56. I want to welcome everybody back to the show, all you guys that have been listening for a while, or those who have been listening for a little bit. Those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the show. And tonight, we're going to go through two articles. The first article, we're going to talk a little bit more about my good friend, Les Wexner. Somebody that I think should be getting way more attention in this whole entire story than he is, especially here in America. But we know in America how the media runs their business now. We all know that the stories that they're looking for aren't these sort of stories anymore because they're all intertwined with politicians. You know, they have this relationship. Where do you think they get their scoops? Where do you think they get their sources? They're not trying to burn that so that they can't get their leads. And the real journalism has gone by the wayside for the most part. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a few journalists out there, more than a few, honestly, who really, still dig after the stories. And those are the kind of people that should be commended and supported, as opposed to these hacks that you see on TV every night that are divisive and nonsensical. And most of the time, they don't even make sense. They're not journalists. They're news readers, right? All they do is they read whatever's on that teleprompter. They don't go out and break stories. None of that stuff. But they would have you believe that they're the center of the universe. They would have you believe that their word is gospel. They would have you believe that their word is bond. We all know the truth, though. All you have to do is listen to what they say. Right? All you have to do is listen to what they say. So these are the people that will tell you to hate your neighbor. These are the people that will tell you that there's a huge festering problem of hatred on the streets of America. When we all know that that's not really true. Don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of psychopaths. There's always psychopaths. In a free society, you can't control everybody, right? There's going to be people that are off their rocker, people that do crazy stuff. Hey, that's part of it. That's part and parcel. But to say that there's, it's a dangerous place, it's all a bunch of BS, the stuff that they try and push, right? Or if somebody has a different political opinion, they should be ostracized or dehumanized, or when in reality what they should be doing is exposing people like Les Wexner and exposing people like Len Dubin and exposing all these other people that were hanging out with Epstein, that were in his orbit, that were making it easy for him to do the things that he did. But no, let's talk about some more about how we should hate our neighbors on CNN or on Fox or whatever the other crap outlets are out there. All right, so our first article is from the Daily Mail, and the headline is, "Was Epstein scandal the real reason the Victoria's Secret fashion show was ditched? Firm feared unholy alliance between the pedophile and lingerie boss would be scrutinized if show went abroad." Pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and Victoria's Secret boss Leslie Wexner may have had an unholy alliance, says an expert who claims the scandal contributed to this year's lingerie show. Folks, go back and listen to the beginnings of this podcast. Go to the Les Wexner has finally made the Washington Post. I've been on this train for quite some time about Les Wexner. This dude is hip deep, balls deep, whatever you want to say. This guy is as dirty and as crooked as anyone in this whole entire Epstein situation, in my opinion. This is a guy that really needs to be stringently looked at. All right, if the Prince of England can give a hard questioned interview, then why is Les Wexner not giving us an interview? Why is he not standing before authorities and telling what he knows? He spent so much time with Epstein. He was the one that transferred him that mansion. There's so many ties. You have the Air America ties down in Columbus. There's just so much going on with these guys. And for him to walk around and to act like everything's all good and he has nothing to do with this, and for the media not to press and prod hard, I just don't understand. The Victoria's Secret fashion show was scheduled for last Friday, but was ditched after in recent years being accused of objectifying women and lacking diversity. That's a nice cover story. But it has been suggested that another factor might have killed the show, namely that Jeffrey Epstein bought underwear from the brand. I think it's a little more than that. The show was called off abruptly in the same week that Prince Andrew faced huge scrutiny over his friendship with the sex offender. The New York Times reports that Epstein had an unusually strong hold over Wexner, Oh, I wonder how he had a strong hold over him, huh? He has strongholds over a lot of people, doesn't he? This guy that was a school teacher and just shot to fame, just rose to stardom in that atmosphere of his world, right? How does he have all this stuff over people, folks? 2 and 2 equals 4, right? Yeah, it does. So let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't blackmailing all of these powerful people? Do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein was just that cool of a guy? Everybody wanted to hang out with him? Do you really believe that these guys couldn't get girls on their own? Come on, folks. Pretended to work as a talent scout and tried to abuse models. Wexner should have known about this, the article claims, but no action was taken. Yeah, he should have known about a lot of things. What about Maria Farmer? He should have known about that, too. Epstein and Wexner were friends for decades after the fashion CEO hired the financier, aka pedophile, as his personal money manager back in the early 90s. Oh, I wonder who set that up. I wonder if the Mega Group had anything to do with that. How about Ronald Lauder? I wonder if any of these guys had anything to do with that. Remember, Jeffrey Epstein had an Austrian passport. He got the Austrian passport when who was the ambassador to Austria? Oh, Ronald Lauder. Wonder how that happened. Wexner, 82, handed control of his finances and private life to Epstein, the paper claims. So, okay, the guy owns Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie Fitch, etc., etc., etc. You ever buy a pair of pants at Abercrombie Fitch? Things were like $130 back in the day. So this dude's given complete control over to Jeffrey Epstein for what reason? Who told him to do that? Who's really in control of L Brands? Wexner might not even be in control of L Brands, folks. Is he a front man? We don't see. Here's the thing. We don't know. We'll never know. These cats, they're the ones who write the laws. Right? So they know the loopholes, they know how to get around all the nonsense, and when the media doesn't do their job, well, we're left holding the bag as the American populace. We're the ones getting screwed once again, and not even just to mention the populace as a whole, but what about the specific victims, right? The specific girls that are victimized by these sick animals. As their lives became intertwined, billionaire pedophile Epstein obtained a private place, vast estate in Ohio, and a Manhattan townhouse, all of which Wexner or his firms used to own. Oh, that's convenient, huh? How isn't Wexner the first one called in right after Maxwell? Are you guys bleepity bleep 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 kidding me right now? The townhouse in New York is the one at which trafficked teenager Virginia Roberts was allegedly ordered to entertain the Duke of York. So how is it not a RICO case, folks? Why is this not a RICO case? Designate a RICO case and do what you do. Let loose the hounds of hell, right? If Roger Stone is getting pulled out of his house with a SWAT team, old-ass Roger Stone, old-ass swinger Roger Stone is getting pulled out of his pad with a SWAT team, but you're calling Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer and asking him to turn himself in, don't you think there's a problem, folks? Don't you think that there is a perversion of justice? No pun intended. Epstein's madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, a.k.a. partner, sexual offender with him, is accused of scouring Central Park for Victoria's Secret models. And a witness claimed that when Epstein was asked about a stream of young girls in school uniforms coming and going from the mansion, he claimed they were auditioning for Victoria's Secret. Oh, I bet you they were. I bet you they were. I bet you had the whole casting couch situation set up, huh? You and your buddy Harvey Weinstein. I bet you and Harvey Weinstein were really good friends, weren't you? And remember, folks, George Stephanopoulos hanging out with this guy, Katie Couric hanging out with this guy, etc., etc., etc. All of these ivory tower living MFs that get up there and they shout from the top of their lungs about how you're an evil person or about how you live your life. But yet they're going to dinner parties with pedophiles. Maria Farmer, an alleged victim of Epstein, said in court papers that Epstein and Maxwell assaulted her on the 336-acre Ohio estate. John Connolly, who authored the best-selling Filthy Rich about Epstein, told The Sun Online that L Brands, the Victoria's Secret parent company, couldn't handle the press that has surrounded Epstein since his death in prison. Yeah, well, good. And I'm glad, and I hope I hope that all of you out there listening tell all your friends about this too, because people don't know the little nuances of this case. They don't know the Les Wexners of this case. They don't know that they're buying shit from a pedophile. Look, I draw the line. You know what? I draw the line at, doing business with people like Les Wexner. First of all, I don't like his overpriced products in the first place. Second of all, this dude was the biggest enabler of them all if he wasn't taking part in the actual assaults. This dude was the biggest enabler of them all. If these allegations are true, there was an unholy alliance between Epstein and Wexner, he said. L. Brands has faced financial problems for a few years, but the bad press about Wexner's connections to Epstein had to contribute to the cancellation of the show. Boom, I said the same thing. I said it's funky that this showing isn't going on, and amid all this fallout from Prince Andrew, Epstein, Maxwell, something don't smell right, and lo and behold, bam, they cancel the show. Young artist Maria Farmer says she met Epstein at a 1995 art show, the same year as the first Victoria's Secret show. Wexner had known Epstein since the 80s, and the financier, pedophile, bought one of Farmer's paintings and offered her a job manning the door at the Manhattan townhouse. She asked him why so many schoolgirls were coming in and out, and Epstein told her they were auditioning for Victoria's Secret. All right, well, there is your evidence right there, the evidence tying them together right there. Epstein has talked to anybody who has listened about his ties with Victoria's Secret, how he's a bigwig there, etc., etc., etc. Where's law enforcement? Do these girls not matter? Do these girls not matter? Is it more important to keep political prisoners like Julian Assange locked away? Is it more important to use SWAT teams to rip guys like Roger Stone out of his house? I mean, really, folks? Is this the kind of society you want to live in? It's not the kind of society I want to live in, where the feds can come and bust your door open and just pull you out for whatever reason and make you, look like a complete fool. But if you have big dough and you're not going against their narrative, well, they're going to call your lawyer and be like, hey, can your pedophile, rapist, trafficking, disgusting client turn himself in so we don't have to raid his house? Oh, yeah, we'll let him know. 2 days later, after all the evidence has been destroyed, after everything is... See, this is the problem, right? Tipping him off before they arrest him. Next summer, when Farmer was 26... This was at a time when the brand made billions with its cheerleader aesthetic. Farmer claims that she would get into the car with Maxwell to pick up models for the company. Next summer, when Farmer was 26, she became artist-in-residence at Wexner's estate. She said in court papers that Epstein and Maxwell assaulted her while she stayed in a guest house. Farmer says that one of Wexner's staff told her that she would never leave when she tried to escape. So Wexner had like a private army around his house, his security team, and they wouldn't let Maria Farmer leave after she was allegedly assaulted. And she said that Maxwell threatened her when she told police about the alleged attack. Wexner has said he has no knowledge of Farmer and that he and his wife claim they have never spoken to her or met her. It happened at your house, dude. Right? If I'm a parent and I go out of town and I leave my kids here and my kids have a party and someone gets drunk and they crash, I'm responsible for her, right? Jeez, man. They say that the house she stayed at was handed to Epstein 4 years before she stayed there. Months before Farmer was there, Epstein allegedly lured Alicia Arden, a California model, to a hotel room saying it was an audition for Victoria's Secret. Saying his weapons were his hands, she alleges that he grabbed her when she was 27 and said he wanted to manhandle her before she cried and ran away. Arden reported him to the police. Again, this guy's been reported to the police how many times and nobody takes it seriously? Why? Because he has dough and he knows people and he's contributed to your DA's re-election fund? People sicken me. The supposed ruling class of this country and of all Western countries, you sicken me. All right? Straight up. No filter. No chaser. None of that. People are sick. Straight up sick people. Two senior executives at Victoria's Secret say that Wexner was aware of the incidents, but it is unknown whether he did anything in response. Epstein had full power and authority to hire staff for Wexner, as well as borrow money and buy and sell properties on his behalf. What? Why would that be the case? Why would Wexner cede control of his finances to Jeffrey Epstein? Why was Jeffrey Epstein basically running Prince Andrew? Why did Jeffrey Epstein have a picture of Bill Clinton in a Monica Lewinsky dress on his wall? This is a man who is exerting great power and great influence, folks. But ask yourselves, why? How? Who is helping him? Epstein took sole possession of the Manhattan townhouse in 1998, and Virginia claims that she was employed there as a sex slave. She says that in April 2001, she was ordered to entertain Prince Andrew when she was just 17. Prince Andrew denies this, saying she took the Duke upstairs to the dungeon. She claims he undressed and lay face down on a table. Virginia says she gave him an erotic massage that Epstein had taught her, but Andrew claims he doesn't recall meeting her. Victoria's Secret model Lana Sakachella visited the mansion while Andrew stayed there in 2010. Andrew was also seen with Victoria's Secret model Angel Heidi Klum at a Hookers and Pimps Halloween party in 2001. This is behavior that is very unbecoming. Yeah, going to the Pimps and Hoes party for the prince isn't unbecoming. You dullard, you buffoon, you moron, you jerk off. Maxwell was seen donning a blonde wig as she draped her arm around the royal while he stared at the model's catsuit. It wasn't until 2006 that authorities brought criminal charges against Epstein. By then, Victoria's Secret had hundreds of stores across this planet. Wexner did not sever his financial ties with Epstein until 18 months later. 18 months later. For those in the back who can't hear me, 18 months later. So take your conspiracy theory crap and shove it. Legacy media, do some work. Do some honest research. Read your own articles. I'm doing this specifically with your own articles to embarrass you, legacy media. Wexner claims he was not aware of Epstein's crimes and said he handed him power of attorney because his respected clients and friends recommended him. He also said Epstein had ripped him off, misappropriating cash from him and his family. All right, let's back up. Respected clients and friends. All right, let's get some names. Who are these respected clients and friends? People in the mega group, I'm guessing. I'm embarrassed that, like so many others, I was deceived by Mr. Epstein, he wrote in a letter. An editorial in New York Magazine demanded to know why Wexner didn't call police when he found out that Epstein had stolen from him. A spokeswoman for L Brand said that Epstein stopped working for Wexner 12 years ago. She added that the parent company does not believe he ever worked directly for L Brands or served as an authorized representative. He had power of attorney. He was in control of Wexner. You know, like in the prison movies, when you get the guy that goes to prison, right? The little punk dude, and he's running his mouth or whatever, acting like he's tough, and then he ends up becoming a prison bitch, holding the guy's pocket as he walks around the main line. That's basically what Wexner was with Epstein. Wexner was holding on to Epstein's pocket as Epstein was wielding his great power and doing whatever the bleep he wanted. The spokeswoman said that L Brands has hired lawyers to undertake a thorough review. All right, everybody, let's all relax. We hired lawyers. We're going to investigate ourselves. Share price has fallen by 30% this year against a backdrop of changing attitudes and Epstein's ties to Wexner. I hope it drops another 30%. That'll serve them sons of bitches right. Because these dudes, well, they're all in on it, in my opinion. It's just obvious from this evidence now, right? If we believe Virginia Roberts' accounts, and there's nothing telling us that we shouldn't believe those accounts, then it's almost impossible to believe that this isn't a whole network of sick people. And not only just people, but in the highest levels of power. The most powerful, the most supposedly respected people in the whole entire world are out cavorting with this sick son of a bitch. And not just cavorting with him when they so quote unquote didn't know what he was doing, but cavorting with this dude after the fact. All right, this next article is from the Inquisitor, and it's about, the headline is, "It would be almost impossible for Jeffrey Epstein to commit suicide. Former prisoner at the facility says." A former inmate at the facility where billionaire sex offender Jeffrey Epstein died is casting doubt on the official narrative that he took his life in a Manhattan jail cell, noting that it would be almost impossible to commit suicide inside the federal detention facility. Epstein was found unresponsive inside his cell in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan and was declared dead after being taken to a nearby hospital. There was some immediate doubt cast on the manner of death, as Epstein had recently been placed on suicide watch, and the facility where he had been being held had not have had a death by suicide in more than a decade. All right, so I went back and I looked that up. It's 3 attempted suicides in the last 40 years and 1 successful suicide. So the narrative doesn't make sense of, oh, this is a prison problem. There's a systematic problem in the prisons, and people are killing themselves all the time. Well, maybe in other facilities, but not in this facility, folks. So that narrative just got getting stomped on and chewed up and spit out like usual with the garbage legacy media liars. Why do they have to lie? Richard Stratton, a former inmate at the Metropolitan Correctional Center, said in an installment of the podcast Epstein, Devil in the Darkness, that he believes the wealthy financier was murdered. Stratton said that the security in the federal detention center was so high, a suicide could only take place if the staff were in on it. And okay, let's talk about the staff for a minute here, right? Remember the first reports were, oh, it was 3 people and one wasn't even really a guard, blah, 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 blah. I went back and did some more research. And one of the guards, supposedly, according to the Boston Globe, one of the guards wasn't even a full-time guard at the facility. What does that mean? There are part-time guards? I don't understand. Was it an administrator filling in? Is that person skirting out while these 2 people take the fall? We need more answers in this whole guard situation. But if you think the Department of Justice is going to be forthcoming, well, I got news for you. We'll have to sue them. It'll have to be a whole thing because they're a bunch of liars. After having spent over 2 years in that institution, then another additional 6 years in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, I've come to conclude that nothing that happens in that system, in particular with high-profile prisoners like Jeffrey Epstein, happens without the full awareness and complicity of staff. He said in the episode, "It's my opinion and based on my experience that Epstein was murdered." Attorney Spencer Coven is also skeptical of the official story. Coven represented many of the victims from Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting an underage prostitute and spoke out in the podcast to question whether Epstein would even have the ability to take his life in the highly secured facility. We've talked about this as well. How do you kill yourself with all of these safeguards in place, right? And cameras focused right on your cell. Oh, those cameras malfunctioned. The only 2 cameras in the whole facility that malfunctioned, right? Okay, yeah. Coven described Epstein as an exceedingly confident man who seemed unlikely to take his life. I had come to the conclusion, based on meeting the man, seeing what kind of person he was, how big his ego was, how confident he was in himself, this was not a depressed man. There has been other speculation that Epstein's death could have been a homicide. As the Inquisitor reported, famed medical examiner Dr. Michael Bodden said during an appearance on Fox and Friends earlier this month that Epstein's fatal injuries were more frequently seen in cases of homicidal strangulation instead of intentional hanging. Bodden noted that Epstein suffered 2 fractures on both sides of his larynx and a fracture on the left hyoid above the Adam's apple, injuries that are rare for hangings. All right, folks. There you have it. Another person who has intimate knowledge of this facility calling BS. And until we have conclusive evidence and not just what these clowns are telling us, I'm not buying their narrative. I'm not buying the story. I need hard evidence in this story because there is way too much on the line to half step. There is way too much on the line to just be like, blah, all right, whatever. That's cool. I guess we'll just, the 2 guards that were on duty will be the fall guys. They'll be the only ones that go to prison. Yet all these pedophiles are going to run loose. All of these rich elite people are going to keep their positions of power over us so they can keep exerting control and keep abusing people? Hell no. No way in hell will I stand by and let that occur. So, once again, you can guarantee I will be here tomorrow with the morning update to get things started for the day. A little something for you to have with your cup of coffee or your tea or whatever it is you're drinking in the mornings. And we're going to keep the pressure on these SOBs. We are not going to relent. We are not going to stop. We are going to keep our foot on the gas, pressed all the way down, and that's it. These dudes, these people in this whole entire ring, they got another thing coming if they think they're going to have one single night of restful sleep. If you want to get in contact with me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to support the show, you can go to the description box and click on the GoFundMe link and support us there. But more importantly, make sure you're sharing this with your friends and make sure you're sharing it with people that are on your social media, whatever. Let's just get the message out and let's keep the pressure up. I will talk to you folks tomorrow.